That,
Sorry about
service
that.
computation date, that's okay. I'll talk right
everybody. Sorry about that. We had the mute on. For some reason, the listen only is not working. So if each of you could mute your phone so we don't get feedback. Sorry about that. Okay.
That's all right. Okay, so employees do not realize that they also have another service computation date, which is a service computation date retirement. And that can be the same as their SCD, also can be different. That SCD retirement is in their system of records. Now, one of the systems that I'm familiar with is EBIS, Employee Benefits Information System. Other employees may have EOPF, which is an electronic OPF. In these systems, they can go online and review their records and find their SCD retirement. Bottom line, if they can't do that, they can always go to their HR, their Human Resources office, and ask them to locate retirement. And the reason I mention this is because there are always employees who aim for retirement based on their SCD leave and then find out that they can't retire for another 6 months or another year and a half because their SCD retirement is different. So when I do seminars, that's one thing I ask all employees to do is go out and find their SCD retirement. Now, when I mention EBIS or EOPF, all agencies in the federal government have different systems. They aren't all on the same one, even though that seems unbelievable. But each agency may have a different system of records. So rather than being specific as to what system they go to, I ask them to look in whatever their system of records is. And
hey, Sue, I think because we had to unmute the line, would you explain why it's so important for the EBIS for the review of all the records through EBIS or the official?
Okay. Agencies have switched to electronic records rather than paper records. And so EBIS, Employee Benefits Information System, is one that several federal agencies have. And employees, and this is true of EOPF, electronic OPF also. If they have either one of those systems, they can go online and look up their records. Now, they have to have a login and a PIN number to do that. So they're the only ones that can do it, but they could even do it, at home or wherever and look this up. So if you're helping them, you would be able to review their records with them if they allow that. But you couldn't go in and review their records yourself.
Okay.
Without all of their information, okay? Does that help, Jeff?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right. So, and one of the things that when you're doing a track program, you need to know the SCD retirement rather than the SCD leave. Now, you can go online, for instance, to find out about all the different retirement systems. You can go online to opm.gov. If you're looking up anything, you can go every federal agency like SSA.gov, TSP.gov, all of them, put .gov at the end, and it'll bring a lot of information up. When I go to opm.gov, I usually just go to the banner at the top and click on retirement, and then look for whatever topic I'm talking about or that I want to research. They do have pamphlets and forums, and so you can go click on that and pull down pamphlets that talk about CSRS offset, that talk about FERS, that talk about retirement, and many other things. And you're free. Anybody can go into these websites and look this information up. Another very helpful one is tsp.gov, irs.gov, any of those. and anybody is free to use those. Now, as far as let me go back a little bit. You can also print out information from these websites, okay? The important thing to remember is that when you're going through this, if some information can't be used as a standalone, needs to be used with something else. And I just throw that out as a caution to you. The TSP website is very, very good. All of these have all the forms on them. And one of the best places to find what you can do and what you can't do are the instructions to the form themselves. As far as retirement paperwork, every agency has time frames that they want their employees to apply for retirement within. IRS prefers to have all the paperwork in at least 2 months ahead of time. And it's because it takes that long for them to review everything, and in order to have everything go through to OPM, the Office of Personnel Management, who is the one that handles all retirements for every agency, they need time to get all the records together. And I'm sure you've all heard about the big backlog at OPM. Well, there are reasons for that. They got downsized just like all other agencies. And when they brought people in, some of them weren't trained as well as they could be. But it's important that the employee check with their human resources office to find out how far ahead they need to notify somebody that they're retiring, because the HR office then provides them with all the forms. They provide a package, their retirement package, and all of these forms need to be completed. You can help them, but what you need to remember is if you're helping with paperwork at all, read the instructions to the form itself. And that's kind of a formidable task, because the form for the retirement itself, both CSRS and FERS, has like 8 to 12 pages of instructions. So it's really important to read the instructions and follow them line by line. Kind of just like doing your taxes, okay?
Sue, this may be a good time. We had a question come in on how important it is for the employee to retain and audit their SF-50s. Well,
actually, employees always get a copy of their SS-50, and if they kept them in a folder, they've got everything. A lot of people say that, you should have a copy of all of those things. Well, it kind of depends on what your work situation was. If you were in agency the whole time, and if you're missing a few 50s, there probably isn't going to be any problem. Now, the only thing is, and whether you have them or not, your agency should have them. They can go into an EOPF or into EBIS and review, especially EOPF, and review every standard Form 50. They can print them all out if they want to. I started work as a seasonal employee, and they told us we needed to keep every standard Form 50, and at that time they used an 1126. I kept all of those. I had a stack of paperwork about, 12 inches high. Have I used it since? No.
No.
So I don't think it's necessary to go in and print out all of those things. But then you might have the employee who started as seasonal, and there were mistakes made by human resources offices, and so maybe it would be beneficial for them.
You know what? We may want to explain what an SF-50 is to the newer advisors.
Okay, and excuse me, because some of these things I'm so familiar with, I forget other people aren't.
No, that's all right.
SF form is a form in the federal government, and it's standard form. That's what the SF stands for. And an SF-50 is a notification of personnel action. That's what it says at the top of the form. if you go into the OPM website at opm.gov, click on retirement, then click on forms and publications, and click on forms, you can review what these forms look like. So a standard Form 50 is something that an employee would receive every time there is a change in their employment. And when I say change, it could be a change in pay, it could be a change in work schedule, could be a change in duty location, could be a promotion, anything like that is going to give them a standard Form 50. Some agencies do not use paper forms anymore, so it's something that is it's electronically sent to the employee. And that then, if the employee wants a copy of that, it would be up to them to print it out if they want a printed copy. Otherwise, they could have an electronic file where they keep all of these and only print them out if they need them. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Jeff, let me interject one other thing. There are standard forms. There are also optional forms, which are OF forms, and there are also RI forms. And one of the RI forms is to buy back military time. And all of these forms are on the OPM website.
Perfect. A couple of questions are coming in on this. I'll take one more, and then I want to get to the final topic, so then we'll go back to addressing the questions if we have time. But Greg Vining wanted to know, what's the fastest and most efficient way to get service computation dates changed?
If the employee goes to their human resources office and asks about their service computation date, the human resources office should review that and get back to them if there's a problem. And if there's a problem, it's the responsibility of the HR office to change that service computation date. And they're the only ones that can do it. I'm not sure when you say what is the fastest or most expeditious way, HR office is the only one that can do that, and hopefully they're very responsive to the employee and will change that if it needs to be changed.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we had some people that were muted early. So could you clarify the two sites one more time for employee can go to get their information? I know that's the Employee Benefit Information System, EBIS.
Right. And the other one is EOPF, the electronic OPF. If they have them online, they can go through and review their records. Now, EBIS and EOPF may not be the only ones. There could be other electronic forms or files that employees have or agencies have that I'm just not aware of yet.
Okay. Now, again, the reason you want them to review that is because it's my understanding that you want to review it for accuracy, because it's the responsibility of the federal employee to make sure that those records are accurate, correct?
Right. Yes, that's true. And most employees wouldn't know whether they're accurate or not.
Right. Which
means that if they had a straightforward career, the records are probably accurate. It's only when you have somebody that maybe worked for the federal government, quit, was gone for a while, came back, maybe quit again, somebody that has something out of the ordinary.
Right. Got it. Okay. Let's move on to proper conduct when you are on government property and following the rules before we open up to some more questions.
Okay, and this is very, very important because planners are not allowed to sell or tout their product on federal property. You cannot give out a business card. You cannot give out a bio. You can't provide any of that. And it is very important because one person violating those rules could cause us or Fed Resource or federal benefits educators to be tossed out of that agency, and we don't want that to happen. Okay, so it is very important that if you make an appointment with an employee, that we have evaluations that are filled out sometime during or at the end of the workshop or seminar, and it has a box to check for if the employee wants to get with the planner for a one-time free consultation. And they have to check that box, and they need to give information where the planner can contact them off government property. Now, a lot of employees still give a work telephone number, but then what you do, is if you have that information, call them at work and make arrangements for them to call you from home or something like that, because you cannot conduct any kind of business on government property.
Very important.
I hope that's clear, because it's very, very important.
Right. Well, we want to make sure that everybody understands that, even if there is some gray area maybe with the HR department, it doesn't matter. You can't bend that rule at all.
Right, and you want to err on the conservative side.
Absolutely.
But whatever instructor you're working with is going to invite you in to the seminar and to talking to people, because that's kind of how you build your credibility. And the instructors are not financial planners. I am not a financial planner in any manner at all. So there are different things about, for instance, thrift savings plan and that type of thing that you would probably know more about than I would. So I ask you to, go over the funds with the people or something like that. And each planner has different ideas about, what's a good fit. But I always tell the people in the seminar that we can't answer individual questions, because the information we give is of a general nature. We could not specifically tell you what's best for you without having a whole lot more information about your situation.
Very good.
Okay.
Okay. We do have some questions coming in, so
okay.
We have a few minutes left here, so we can address some of these.
Okay.
Very good. A very good question about when asked. So if somebody wants a business card, and let's say you're doing a training session, you have a financial advisor with you, and somebody asks for the advisor's business cards, what is the proper response?
The proper response is, I'm sorry, I can't give you one. Federal regulations prohibit us giving out business cards or anything on federal property. If you want to get with me, you can check the box on the evaluation, and I'll be happy to contact you, and at that point, I'll give you my business card and bio.
Yes. So
okay.
We have them fill out the appointment request form, and then we'll be in touch.
That's right.
Yep. So,
and you can say federal regulations prohibit me giving you anything like that.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, we have another question. Dale had a question about using their personal email versus the agencies. The answer to that is yes. Get their personal email.
Yes.
Absolutely. Look, we use you don't want to go using the government email. We want to use that as minimal as possible, because the more that we use it, the higher the risk of HR intervening, and we'd rather use personal email. So
right.
Always ask for that personal.
And one thing, there can be human resources people in this class. So we want to make
absolutely.
sure that we don't denigrate the Human Resources Department or anything, that we cooperate with them to the greatest extent,
Yes.
and that we focus on giving us a personal phone number and a personal email rather than the government.
And Greg Vining had a follow-up question to the comp date. If someone's buying back military service, should he or she expect to see the service comp date revised?
They can expect to see their retirement service computation date revised, but that isn't something that shows on any papers that they get. That's why, yes, they need to go into their system of records and find out what that is, or after they have the military time bought back, talk to their Human Resources office and find out when they're going to revise that service comp date and find out what the new date is. And that is something that would generate a standard Form 50, a notification of personnel action.
Got it. Very good.
Okay.
Okay, if there are any questions out there for Sue, we have a few more minutes here. So you can put them in the chat bar. If you need to get a hold of Sue and you have a question, that's going to be handled through Alyssa. So you need to email Alyssa with the question and request a time to meet with Sue, and Alyssa will set that up for you. Sue's very busy, and Alyssa can help organize that. So questions should be directed to Alyssa. Is that correct, Alyssa?
That's right, Jeff.
I think she's just placating me over there, Sue.
I think that's what Alyssa and I had talked about too. So.
Okay, well, all right. So thank you, Sue, for confirming it. Okay, so to clarify, the RSCD is available on these electronic systems.
Yes.
Okay.
And if they have no other way, if they still have paper OPFs, they can request it through their Human Resource office, and they will get that. It will be mailed to them, and then somebody from HR and the employee can sit down together and go through that OPF, and they can make copies as they like.
Yes.
Okay? But it isn't something that the employee can get on their own.
Got it. And out of all the agencies you work with, in your experience, which agency is the slowest for turning around a retirement transition for a federal employee?
You know, I can't say which one is the slowest because in every case it depends on what the person's career was like, whether they had everything, you know, whether they only worked for one agency or more than one. Every agency has problems periodically, and that's one reason it's important for the employee to follow their agency procedures as far as submitting retirement paperwork.
Right.
The other thing is, even when an employee retires, if they're going to do something with their TSP, their thrift savings plan, they need to wait at least a month before they submit any papers to the TSP, because it takes that long for the record keeper at TSP to get the information that the person has left federal service.
That's a good point.
We knew that.
Okay.
Do we have any other questions for Sue? If you're on the phone line, we've unmuted the line. So if you have a question, you can. Maybe you're driving today and you don't have access to your computer. Go ahead, and we have time for 2 more questions here.
Hey, Jeff.
Yes.
Jeff, this is Brian Ambrose. Hi, Sue.
Hi.
Quick question, just clarifying further on the retirement service computation date and the service computation date. Is your experience that the service computation date is typically going to be, how should I say, earlier or later than the retirement service computation date. I was always under the impression that the retirement service computation date was typically going to be an earlier date because you were adding in military time or some other things. And you said, I think earlier,
and I'm saying
go ahead.
It's later. Your service computation date for retirement purposes, your retirement SCD is later than your leave SCD, which is why when people are working toward retirement, looking at their leave SCD, then they find out they might have to work another 6 months or a year or something because they had temporary time where they didn't pay into the retirement system that's not creditable, or they had military time that they get leave for, but it's not creditable for retirement purposes.
Thank you.
Okay. Does that answer that, Brian?
Yes.
Okay.
I guess the thought is, in doing these analysis, can we start with the service computation date because that is what they have accessible to them, and just explain to them that this is going to allow us to explain how the annuity is calculated, but then really encourage them to take the extra step and find out what if it is a different date than the retirement service computation date? Is that a best practice way to go?
That. Right.
Okay.
You can do that, but it would be best for them to get their retirement SCD before you even run a calculation or an estimate.
So I guess my follow-up then is that retirement service computation date is something that they can get fairly quickly. It just sounds like there might be a bunch of hurdles that they have to go through to get that date that might dissuade them from even doing an analysis.
Well, and there shouldn't be. They should be able to go, call or stop in at their HR office, and the HR should be able to tell them that date within a matter of minutes if they, if they aren't involved in something else. Okay?
Perfect.
Okay.
You know what? We are out of time.
Sue, you were awesome today. Thank you.
Well,
Sue,
thank
awesome
you very
or
much.
What? We would do a collective round of applause right now if we were all together. And I'm sure there are some.
Thank you very much.
I think there's some clapping out there, and so Sue is at your disposal only through Alyssa, but as you can hear, she's a wealth of knowledge, and she'll help make sure that you consult and advise your federal employees with confidence, and that's the key. We realize that when a federal employee reaches out to us for help, there's a big responsibility we do have, and that's why we've surrounded our team with people like Sue, and we're very thankful to have her. So, again, as we close today, if you do have additional questions or you would like to review a case with Sue, that through Alyssa, and each of you that have exclusive region, you have 2 hours of her time. So that is part of the agreement. And so for teaching, coaching, make sure you utilize that because Sue's a great support system for us. So thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend. And there will be no call next Friday, but we'll pick it up in 2 weeks. And, Alyssa, what is that track, the software?
Let me get that for you right now. Sorry.
That's off guard, which is very rare.
Let me look here, Jeff. It'll be track software.
Okay. It'll probably be Sean Nickerson going through input and presentations, and so have your questions ready for Sean in 2 weeks. So, again, Sue, thank you, and everybody have a great weekend, okay?
You're very welcome. Good luck with your probiotics.
Hey, Hey, Sue, we're still on the conference call here, so
Oh, excuse
I'm going
me.
to, yeah, thank you. All right, goodbye.
You're welcome. Bye.